Presented by AfterBuzz TV and hosted by Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman, this is X-Pac 12360. And now your host, WWE Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360. Back after a 1 week hiatus. Well, it wasn't a hiatus for me, just for the show. I was down in Orlando for NXT's debut on USA Network.
Awesome. I didn't even know you were going to be down there that week for some reason.
Yeah.
When I got the text, I was like waking up, getting ready to come to the show, and I was like, "Oh, Sean's not here. There's no show today. Go back to sleep."
Yeah, and I would have called in from the PC, but it was just with it was the day before going on live, so there was just a lot going on, and couldn't be proud. I don't like to. Sometimes when you say I'm proud of someone or whatever, it can kind of come off condescending or whatever. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
Oh, I'm proud. Like,
I think if you're genuinely proud of
but
someone,
I'm really
it
proud
shines
of
through.
all the talent on there stepping up, and 'cause there'll be people that will doubt. They'll say, "Oh, I don't think they're ready to go live," or "I'm not, ready for." You're not ready until you do it. If people wait until they think they're ready for something, they'll never fucking do anything.
Well, that's why they say that when you try to learn how to swim, that's why they tell you just get in there and
that's
do
a little
it.
much,
I know,
though, to throw
but
it,
just kind of throw them in there, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, they did that with my uncle. Did that to me, throw me in the deep end.
Oh man.
Yeah, and all it did was traumatized actually.
So then maybe it wasn't a good metaphor that I used, but that's what I was trying to say with what you just said of just going out there and doing it. But I think from the fans' perspective, from the fans, what they expected, I think that everybody was very happy and excited with what they saw and with what happened, and just the energy and the vibe and feeling that for the talent.
So they really couldn't have started off better than that four-way women's match they had. Those ladies just went out there and fucking murdered it. They were great. So happy for them.
Right away, trending on Twitter. That must have been awesome. How was that?
What's that?
Like everybody that was basically coming back through the curtain. What was the facial reactions? Just excitement, like we did it. Yes, keep going.
Yeah, especially since we're talking about that, I just want to congratulate Candice because, to me, she kind of along the same lines as Gargano. She's like that as far as as far as the women go, and not just women, but she's just one of the best baby faces in the industry. Man or woman.
Yeah.
And also, not the first choice. She's not the one that they look at and go, she's the chosen one. But yeah, she still comes up and rises up past that and goes, motherfuckers, I'm right here, and the people love her, and I don't know, I'm just really happy for her.
And then I think that's always the best when it's not the person that was chosen and it's the person that rises to the top. And then it's, for example, Becky Lynch, there's so many examples of people, but that's just one that comes, to mind. But it makes it just the fans know, and I think they know, and it makes it that much more special, I think.
Yeah. I was talking to Johnny about that, Johnny Gargano. We were talking about how happy we were for her, or are for her.
And she's been making the rounds for years, really going out there, gaining her stripes, wrestling men, having these really good matches in the indie scene where, when she came out, you knew you were going to have a good time watching her because she brought something different to the table.
So what I was about to say I was talking to Johnny. Bret Hart was one of those guys that one of the greatest of all time, world champion, whatever, but he was always like, the Lex Express didn't work out. Okay, we'll put it on Bret. This guy, anytime, just whatever plan they had didn't work out, it was like their standby,
Right.
One of the greatest of all time, but that was kind of the thing, right?
Right.
He wasn't Vince's first choice. And that's kind of, I was talking to Johnny about that. Like, you get a chip on your shoulder when you're that person.
Yeah.
You know, and you can use that to your advantage.
I think for more recent terms, I feel like with Raw last night, I feel like I'm seeing that in Chad Gable.
Oh, good.
With what you're saying, because of the fans were like really into him, like even last week and even more so this week. Yeah. So I feel like recent people, that might be somebody that, you know, maybe we should keep on our eye on in terms of doing what we're talking about with Candice, like Candice LeRae, Becky Lynch, etc.
Yeah. So, is anything you want to ask me about that before we get into what we're going to do today?
About your weekend?
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to know how the vibe was like. I mean, because like we said, it's something very exciting. It's very huge. You know, from what I saw on Twitter and social media, you know, people were like, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for everybody at NXT. So I just wanted to know, like, being there, if you guys really felt that electricity, especially backstage, since obviously we don't see that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there was a lot, I mean, because so many of them have never done live TV. You know, a lot of them have done TV, obviously, but, you know, it's a little bit different when you're doing it live, and you got to hit your time, you know, hit your times. You got to get your times perfect, you know, for commercial breaks and then going off the air. So, it just adds a lot of pressure. You get to see who, you know, because there's people that are incredibly talented. You can have new people that like have the same amount of talent, but one chokes under pressure and one thrives in it, under pressure.
Do you think you saw that? Like, you don't have to name names, but do you think you noticed like some people you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't expect this from this person. And, you know, they rise to the occasion.
No, I wouldn't say that, but I did see some, you know, maybe a little, just maybe some nerves getting the best of people. I'm not going to mention names.
No, of course not. Right. So. But I think it's bound. It's natural to happen. But obviously, with the weeks coming by, eventually that will be shaken off, you know?
Yeah. And I just stay tuned for the next few weeks of NXT. It's going to get even better. It's
going to get crazy. I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what's coming up.
Oh, man.
I know the inside scoop, and I'm not telling.
For the rest of us, we'll just have to wait and see, which is even better. All right, do you want to jump into the meat of our show today, or do you want to add anything else today?
Denise, why don't you tell everybody what we have going on today?
All right, so we did a poll. Like always, we're doing polls now to talk about certain topics you guys pick, and we're listening to you guys, seeing what you want us to talk about, what specifically Sean. And the last week's topic that actually won was your return after WrestleMania 14 to the company. And so today we're going to go ahead and talk about that. And before we sort of get into the questions and all of that, I just want to set the tone. So at this point, Shawn Michaels is injured. He got his back injury, you know, very unfortunate. And Triple H assumes leadership of DX the day after WrestleMania 14. Triple H comes out and he cuts this promo and he says that he is going to inject new blood. And he says when he's gonna look to your blood, he's gonna look to his buddies, and he's gonna look to the clique. And he comes out there, and you know everyone's wondering what's gonna happen. And then your music hits, and you come out, and then you come out and you do this amazing promo with, you know, I was rewatching this, and some of the things you said on there, I have very terrible writing, but basically you went out there and you said you said some stuff to Hulk Hogan. You gave him not some good shout outs, but basically you talked about Eric Bischoff. You talked about him keeping Scott Hall and Kevin Nash hostage. You even said something about what is it? You said you suck pal to was it Hulk Hogan? Yeah. And you went ahead and said that, you know, Eric Bischoff would go up Hulk's butt had he known something for his breakfast. A bunch of crazy things. I'm messing it up here because I wrote it so terribly.
So what I said was, you
can go ahead and read.
I said Hulk. That. I said, you know, be careful. You don't want to stop short. Or else Eric Bischoff will go so far up your ass, you'll know what you have for breakfast.
I was dying. I was hearing this, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like this is gold." Yeah. So okay, but before we get into that, let's just kind of go backwards a little bit. How much time went before you got contacted by WWE after WCW?
After. I can't remember exactly, Denise. It was just, I can't remember if they got word, because the word had gotten out that I got fired or got my release, but I've been keeping, always keep in touch with Paul, Hunter, or whatever you want to call him. We always stayed in touch with each other, even though we were working at other, in other companies and all that. But it was just really good timing, I'd been sitting at home. So, I'd been sitting at home for, probably 8 months at that point, recuperating from a cervical fusion that I had. And so I was almost ready to come back when Eric, a lot of people know this story, so I'm not going to go in deep into the story, but, so I'd been watching WWE stuff, and ever since the Montreal screw job ordeal, like all these eyes were back on WWE. It really, a lot of attention was on WWE, and it got my attention, and so I was watching what was going on there, and I could tell things were picking up there. Business was picking up momentum. Stone Cold stuff was really catching on, and the DX stuff, and they had a strong undercard too. So when I got fired, I was pissed off at just the idea of getting fired by FedEx. And so, that was about it. I really was, I was looking at this as, this is my get out of jail card. Not that I'm not, wasn't jail WCW. I had a lot of good experiences there, but there was some bad.
Right.
So, Paul, I just remember Paul calling me and just telling me what was going on with Sean. Sean, he was hurt, and he was working hurt for, a long time. And it was, they knew that, okay, WrestleMania, he was going to do the honors for Steve, and then he was done. Really, everyone kind of just figured he was done for good, low back injury like that.
Did you guys all at this point really know how serious it was?
Yeah, and a low back, I had a neck surgery, and the neck is incredibly serious. Like you break your neck, you can either die or be a quadriplegic or whatever, if your spinal cord is damaged that high up. And so, like, the injuries aren't as serious on your low back, but the surgery to fix it is way more complicated and can have a lot more complications, and sometimes people just from the surgery, they never recover from complications from the surgery on the lower back stuff. I have a brother-in-law going through hell over that type of thing. In the meantime, Kevin and Scott had a meeting with Eric over the whole firing me thing. And, I'm not going to go into that part because there's stories of how that meeting went down and, whose version is true and, how much exaggeration was, added to the story. But they were pretty pissed at Eric. And Eric just said, to have Sean call me. And, I'm pretty sure he'd probably admit this, like his whole intent was just to kind of, put me in my place, put Kevin and Scott in their place. And I understand they were being difficult.
He used you to punish them.
Trying to just look at it from Eric's point of view.
Right.
Because, we were, we were us. And that, so, yeah. There was no way. I told Kev, I was like, fuck him, tell him to call me, and but I'd already been talking to Paul, and I'd been negotiating with WWE through my agent, through Barry Bloom. But Barry was kind of persona non grata with WWE over the Jesse Ventura lawsuit, where they had like almost $1 million judgment over royalties. So they wouldn't even deal with Barry. So Barry had to get a middleman involved. That's a whole nother story, but they kind of lowballed me on on the first offer and put it out publicly. JR, who, I love JR.
Right.
And that was, it was just like it's a tactic to get that number out there, that low number. I was pissed too. So like at one point I was just like, fuck it, I'm not coming back. And Paul called me, oh, come on, don't let this, and he's right. Like I've fucking made way more, like 5 times more money. Like
don't let this ruin it for you.
For everything.
Right.
He was just, and I understood from Paul's point of view, because, he wanted to keep that DX thing going because it was sweet.
Yeah.
What it would have been really hard. Too? What's that?
To keep, the fact that you guys were going to try to keep DX going without Shawn Michaels, who was, a big portion of that.
Well, it was me coming back. I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked if I didn't come back, but boy, it very well may not have. You know what I mean? And it was, if there was anyone that was going to come in to that spot, it would have been me. Like right. It was a perfect spot for me, obviously. Look how it turned out.
Exactly. And before we get to that, though, you say that there was a point where you were upset. You thought maybe I'm not going to go back, but obviously you were healing.
I let my ego get the best of me, right?
Exactly. And you were looking to get, you were getting better, getting ready to get back out there. So when you were considering not going back to WWE, were there any other options? Perhaps ECW, Japan?
WCW.
Oh, back with...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So it was something that you considered?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, no, but... So, no.
So, no and no and
no, yes. But I know me, and like if I would... That would have been the only place I would have... Because that's the only place I would have been making that kind of money. And I was used to making that kind of money at that point.
Okay.
I had some bills that, my monthly nut was such that, I needed to make a certain amount of money. So, right. Yeah. But, so I was, not that this has anything to do with, like the promo and, everything that happened after that. But, I knew what Jeff Jarrett's guarantee was. I knew what Mark Miro's guarantee was, and I threw that in their face, and fucking Jim got mad too. He's like, "God damn it!" I'm like, "Dude, then don't fucking pay them that." I was like, because in my opinion, I'm worth way fucking more than those guys.
And it's good to know your worth.
Yeah, whether anyone agrees with me that's listening to it or not, that's how I felt, So, in lieu of the downside guarantee, not getting exactly what I wanted on that, I asked for all kinds of fucking perks. Like first class, only 15 days a month, so they couldn't work me more than half the month.
So you stayed with the first offer, or did they?
No, I still got it higher, but
higher offer plus the perks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my first. Then when I came back, I think my downside was like $300,000 or something. But I was like making $1 million.
Right.
So that 300 really didn't matter much until like the very end when, I wasn't making as much whatever. That's another story.
But automatically going in with this new, this new deal, this new perks, did you feel, you felt good, you felt happy, felt like you made the right decision?
So, funny thing about that is I worked on it, and the same with WCW. I don't think I ever signed the actual long-form contract in WCW. I worked the whole time on a deal memo, which is the basic terms, right? Like, not the minutia, but just the main stuff.
Wow. And no one ever said anything about that? Never?
Well, yeah, they were trying to get me signed, but like I was trying to get a raise.
Oh, I see.
Because Eric was giving out raises to other, Kevin and Scott, and I wanted it on that, So, but it never did happen. That's why I ended up working hurt down there. Now, I worked for a while hurt. Like my neck was broken. I just kept working. But anyways, where was I?
Okay, so let's go into you come out, you make your debut, you're back. One of the things that we had known from your career earlier on in the company is obviously you had the kid persona.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Okay. Yeah, so you know, I was talking about not ever really signing the actual contract at WCW. Similar happened in WWE when I got back because we were arguing over the rights to the name X-Pac because I came up with it. It's my fucking idea. Everything about it is mine.
Well, that's because when you first came out, you didn't have an actual name.
Right.
Okay.
So we were bickering about that, and so it was probably another 8 months or a year before I actually signed the contract. So yeah, there was, you know, I wanted to get what I could get. You know, I was gonna fucking fight for, because I had this. You know, the first time I was there, I felt like I'd gotten walked on a little bit, whether that's true or not, you know.
But how do you go about that? Because, you know, there's so many instances, so many stories where we heard where guys want to speak out about something that they're unhappy with, but maybe they don't have that leverage.
Yes.
They're not, you know, the top star.
Yeah.
How do you go about saying, this is what I want, this is what I think is right, and, you know, sort of having that work like for you instead of against you?
Well, you either wait till you have that kind of leverage before you start, you know, complaining, or being, you know, at the drop of a hat, willing to walk away from all of it and be able to pay your bills doing something else, like, gives you leverage. Also, the I don't give a fuck kind, to where, like, you may not be the top guy here, or you may not be this or that, but, you know, you don't fucking need the place, you know? So, you know, the I don't give a fuck is amazing leverage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I was saying earlier, so you obviously, you know, you had the kid character, you know, very different from how you came back, you know, more like edgier. Your vibe was different. Your attitude was different. So it was a full change. How important was that character change for you in terms of helping DX get over?
It was incredibly important. It was actually, you know, the change from 1, 2, 3 kid to 6 was incredibly important. That was where, you know, I didn't want to be a kid anymore. You know, I hated
You were
that.
also trying to get away from...
I was all my life as a child, I was in a big hurry to grow up and not be a kid. So, yeah. Anyway, so I grew facial hair best I could. Actually, I couldn't even really grow any until I left. And when I went to WCW, I actually got on some steroids, and they helped me grow facial
I was going to
hair.
say, because prior to that, you were super clean and shiny.
And it was like testosterone, which is considered steroid, but like basically for, you know, just for the lay person out there, I started taking steroids.
Late bloomer.
I was able to grow some fucking facial hair then. And you know, the testing was different down there. It was mainly just a PR thing. Like they weren't really trying to bust anybody.
I know, but it was just crazy. Like, if you see, like, just looking at your WWE stuff, if you see the beginning to that little point, just just 2 pictures side by side, it's like, how on earth did that happen? It was a major change, and a major change. So now with this promo, we mentioned that you said a lot of interesting things. Did they tell you what to say?
Not one thing.
Did you have any restrictions on how much you could name Eric Bischoff or WCW?
Nothing.
And
before I went out for that segment, Vince looked at me and goes, "They're expecting." I've mentioned this before. Vince looked at me and said, "They're expecting something big from you. Go out and give it to them." No one said, "Hey, I think you should say this. I think you should say that." And it was better that way for plausible deniability. I didn't know he was going to say that. Right? So when they did sue us,
I was about to ask if there was any legal repercussions, because I know at this point they were going back and forth with any little thing. So with, you know, those mentions, especially when you said, they're being held hostage. Oh yeah, I know that. In all
fairness, it went both ways. There were lawsuits at WCW too.
So when you go out there and you hear Vince say to you, people are expecting something big from you, what kind of pressure does that put on you? And did you kind of second guess? Did you already have in mind what you were going to say, or was it in the moment, this is what I'm going to say?
Some bullet points.
Bullet points?
Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't the smoothest. It was eventful on my part. But, you know, if you go back and listen to it, it wasn't very smooth. You know, I was nervous. I was extremely nervous. You know, I talk about this a lot. I'm scared. I have a fear of talking in public, and
But you had the energy, though.
Yes.
I think
And
the
the
energy probably
authenticity.
hid the nerves, I think.
And the authenticity, it trumps all of it, you know?
Right.
And you know, I did have some zingers, right? Like, you know, holding Kevin and Scott hostage. And so when,
because those are some big things to say about a company in general. To say they're holding their employees hostage.
Yeah. So when I was being deposed by WCW's lawyer, and my lawyer was present too, no, like one of the questions was, why'd you say that? And the truth, my answer was the truth. I said, well, I was talking to Kevin Nash the night before, and he told me that would be fun, that would be great if I said that. And they're just like, oh, fuck. They basically ended up, you know, just throwing in the towel on that lawsuit.
Wow.
And
So you knew
like,
it was coming, obviously.
What do you mean when you say suck it? What is it? And I'm like, you know what it is.
You're like, do I really have to explain that
My
to
ding
you?
dong.
Okay. So did you? You did get a legal response, as we know. But what did Hall and Nash say, and what was their reaction to hearing you say this, you know, live on TV?
You know, I think they had a good chuckle, and actually Eric, he was like, yeah, you know, he owed me that one. You know, he was pretty cool about it. Actually,
Oh, so he wasn't upset.
No, he understood. Yeah, but he wanted to turn that into him versus Vince, not him versus me, right?
Right. What makes it hot television.
Yeah.
So after this promo, the crowd goes crazy. You know, they turn pretty much babyface in that moment. But then later on, we still see you guys do heelish tactics. So before we get to that, was that the plan to turn you guys babyface?
No.
It just happened naturally then. Okay. Because it kind of seemed like it wasn't the plan, you know, later on after that.
And, you know, and also, when you send us out into the streets and, you know, into Manhattan and have us doing all these, like, just shooting shit on the street, and we just had a good time doing things, and, you know, they play that on TV. So do you remember any of that when we're like, did you ever see any of that? The DX stuff?
I've seen so much.
So do you know why they had that? It was because it was a taped show, because it was still a 1 week taped, 1 week live. And that particular week, they were like 10 minutes light on the show. Like, they needed to fill 10 fucking minutes. So they sent us into Manhattan, you know, with the camera crew, and we just fucked off, and nobody, you know, we just did shit, you know, and they played it. And it's hard not to, you know, it's hard not to like us.
Exactly. You know, everybody likes the cool bad guys or the cool bad kids that are, you know, breaking the rules and, you know, doing the fun stuff that everybody wants to do.
You know, and then I don't know, are you going to talk about the invasion stuff at all, or are we just talking about this?
So we're mainly focusing on this. So I figured, hey, save some topics for later, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you feel after that promo? What were your thoughts afterwards? Like, okay, this has been said and done.
I knew it was good. Yeah, I got back, and, you know, it was... I didn't need to get the pat on the back from Vince and everybody, but I did. I knew.
Did he say anything specifically to you?
I don't remember any specific words. I just remember the approval, and, you know, that's the biggest. There's nothing that was more important to me on the job. I'm not saying in life, but at my job, there was nothing more important. There was nothing I wanted more than to get the approval of Vince.
And it's not like he hands those out left and
right.
right.
Not all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So also on this night, which was very interesting, is that Austin gets his new belt.
Yes.
So you can say it's sort of the start of the Austin era.
Yep.
But when you look back, one of the things that they remember most, the fans, is your promo. Given that on the same night Austin gets this bout, how does that feel for you, knowing that when people look back, this is what they remember?
It feels pretty good, Denise. You know, it was a big thing. It was, because Austin was already there. He was already, and, you know, like, that was, me coming back was a surprise for a lot of people. Some people knew, you know, because they knew I was let go, and, you know, I knew there was a chance I was going to end up there. But even Eric didn't. He thought up until the moment he saw me on Raw that I'd be giving him a call.
Really?
Yeah.
So he still thought there might be a chance.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so, mentioning the fact that this was very huge. Before this, the Raw after Mania appearances, debuts were not a thing. Would you say that maybe you were one of those people that sort of kicked that off?
I think that was the first of the Monday after WrestleMania shows that became okay, you got to tune in to Monday after Raws from now on, right?
Because you never know what's going to happen. Because I think afterwards it wasn't Brock until 2002, I think. So some time did go by, but it sort of was that thing that sort of kicked it off. And now at the end of the night, you guys added the New Age Outlaws. What were your thoughts on that?
When we look back on it and just how everything turned out, obviously, they were the perfect addition. And even if I hadn't come back, I think there was the plan of having, because the plan was, or the talk was even way before I came back. Well, Sean was still active, to add those guys to the mix. But they were doing fine on their own at that point. So, no. Just, I don't know. I can't really stress enough how important those guys were to the whole DX recipe,
And then having them as the main event was also important, correct?
Yeah. So when we came into the cage and we're beating up Terry Funk and Mick, so I got Mick down in the corner and I went to give him the Bronco Buster and he rolled over on his stomach. He didn't want to take it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh man, so he didn't you didn't say hey, I'm gonna go for it, heads up.
Yeah.
Oh man, what'd you do?
I kind of just did it, however.
However it came through.
Yeah. And I get it. But it wasn't that long before whenever I was working with Mick, he was the first one to say, hey, when you gonna hit me with the Bronco Buster? I was thinking right there, that's when you hit me with the Bronco. It just, I get it. You got some guy jumping up and down, his balls in your face. What the fuck, right?
Exactly. So one of the things that I thought visually was impactful was after. So the ending clip of Raw was all of you guys on top of that cage, and you guys are all cheering, whatever, doing your thing. But that last shot that we see, the focus is on all of you.
Yeah.
All of you. You don't really see that anymore where, now usually the focus is on one guy at the end of Raw. But this time it was, all of you guys. You guys were all part of that. So I don't know, does that, how does that make you feel? Or, what does that signify to you? The difference from that to now where it's the focus is on one guy. And then, so many fans are always like, oh, let's push more guys. You guys... Let's push more and more. Yeah. And we were seeing it, for example, in that tiny moment, Yeah,
well, I don't know. It was just the visual of all of us up there. And we needed to drive that home, that this is DX now. And there was just, there's a history there. What Road Dogg and I were close friends before, when I was there before. And, because I was one of the first people he knew when he came in, and Billy, long history with Billy, he's the one, with the eyebrows.
Yeah.
And all. Well, I thought it was him, but so we just had great chemistry. We just loved being, it was just the funnest. We had so much fun. It was honestly the best time of my life. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now.
People could tell, Denise.
You really could. You really could tell. And then the fact that it became so iconic, and when you think back to this era, this is one of the things people think about, DX. And so that's why I want to ask you if, was there ever any fear that without Shawn Michaels, that DX wouldn't get over? And what were Shawn Michaels' thoughts?
I don't know. And yes, I'm sure there was a lot of doubt. Without Sean, if it could keep going. But I had a fuck ton of momentum coming off of my NWO run. It was the biggest thing in wrestling, NWO, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, wow, that was a big deal. That was a huge part of why, I mean, it still would have been great if I would have came back, into that spot. But the fact that I was a huge part of the NWO
added to that.
Oh, just a ton.
It's interesting because, like, last time when we were talking about how you came in when you first started working with Razor Ramon and then how you came back for your return, it seems like you always had a really good timing, introduction into the company, whether the first time or the next time, Yeah. So, I mean, that's just, I don't know. Do you call that luck? What is that? I don't know.
Stars are all in alignment.
There you go.
Yeah. And I just had uncanny timing.
Were there ever any plans for it not to be day after WrestleMania return?
No.
No, always day after WrestleMania. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's, I feel bad because, all the DX, the foundation of DX, that was, Sean, Paul, and Joni. And, I got to give some credit to Rude for being in on that too. But, it's Paul and Sean's. And then he gets hurt, and all the great, all the fruit, he didn't get to reap the rewards as much, right? For the the foundation he laid and the hard work for DX. I mean, eventually he came back and they got that separate DX run, but it was different, of course,
different timing, different points, that sort of thing.
It would have been really cool if. It would have been so great if he would have been along for some of that stuff, like the invasion and, that type of stuff.
But then who knows how it would have all played out? Who knows? Things might have been different or who knows what could have happened. So it seems like there was just all this really good timing. So yeah, when I was thinking about this, I was like, Sean just got some real lucky moments here where you were able to come out, given your shot and then really just run with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my introductions have been, the WCW one when I went back there or when I went there, that was just kind of like an afterthought the way I was introduced there. But the 1, 2, 3 Kid stuff, the coming back in DX stuff,
it was hot.
Yeah, you can't get more ideal circumstances than those two.
That's the
things.
Dream. I mean, how many guys don't come in thinking, oh, I'm so excited, I'm here, what's gonna happen? And then nothing happens, so it's it's awesome when it does happen, for yourself and for other people as well.
Yep. And we were off to the races. Yeah.
All right, well, is that it? That's what I have for you. If you want to add anything else, let me know. We can add it.
No, I mean,
it's a cool historic moment, I think, though. And I think, anybody that goes back and, rewatches it, especially because I know for our last show that we did, people went back and rewatched some of your matches at Impact. So maybe some people are like, you know what, let me go back and rewatch this and re-see this, that sort of thing. And it just, even now, hearing, what was said, it's like, man, that was a big deal,
Yeah.
Imagine hearing that now.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Cool. Well, thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I don't know, you want to just give all the,
all right,
obligatory, let's get out of here stuff.
So good news, we already broke 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So yay. I don't know if you saw that, but I posted that on Twitter. So guys, again, youtube.com/Xpac, Xpac12360 show on Twitter and on Instagram. Make sure to follow us. We post exclusive clips and so much more. Don't miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a really good review on Apple Podcasts. We need those. We read those. Rate us 5 stars so you guys know the drill.
Yes.
As for me, please do not forget to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram @_Denise Salcedo. YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo. This week, I'm going to be covering Bellator 228, so I'm going to be coming out with lots of videos, so hopefully you guys check those out.
Yeah. You're going to come to Sacramento with me for that watch-along thing?
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to be doing the blue carpet on October 4th.
Oh, very cool.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
All right, everyone. We'll see you right here next week. AfterBuzz TV Studios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Sean Waltman, and the entire Xpac 12360 staff, thank you for tuning in to Xpac 12360.